That should have done it. Live on YouTube. Check.
Yep. Nice.
So we will let people filter in here for a second.
Can we tweet about it?
Notification. Yeah, we'll fire a little tweet out.
Are you gonna?
Can you grab it? Only because I'm scared to exit out of this page and lose the stream. For everyone trickling in here, good morning. It's May 24th. It's the last week of, I think it's the last week. It is the last week of one of the craziest months in crypto ever. The peak of the bull market. We have Bitcoin's biggest down month of all time. We're going to be talking about it here in a second. I'm going to let some people join in, and then we'll fire it up.
Okay, that should have done it. I mean, the worst tweet ever, but I mean, I'm not creative in the slightest. Should work anyway.
Sometimes the YouTube preview doesn't show up.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it doesn't.
On your tweet?
Yeah, because normally it does, but this one definitely doesn't.
I know. Why? Here, let me find a link here. Share.
Duck, where's Duck? The Duck's right here.
Don is right here. He's on the right side, right here. That's his chart. We're going to be talking about it here in a second. I'm going to keep letting people join. Good morning. Someone said, is Don a girl?
Yeah, the most sexy one is what it is.
If that is what you take from that voice, you're hanging out with some weird girls. That's no comment on that. You got some weird things going on in your weekly open. We don't need to talk about that. We're gonna be talking charts.
Yep, we'll try to. Josh wanted to come, but so far he seems missing. So he might join later, but can't promise anything. But yeah, whatever. Let's start, shall we?
Yeah. Just fire his tweet out, and then we'll kick things off. Keep you guys waiting. Sorry for that. It's so weird. I can't get the preview to go through on mine. Either way, oh, here they are. We got people coming through. Good morning, guys. This is the weekly open. Every single week we stream this 11 a.m. Eastern time on Monday. And by the way, this show is brought to you by Blockfolio. Go check it out. And I heard Cred say this, Don, on your stream. They have a feature that lets you hide your balances. So if you want to track all your coins, it's incredible to do that on a month like this. It's also nice you can hide your balance. You don't have to look at the numbers going down. And Blockfolio also lets you trade right from the app. So if you do want to move out of some coins that have dumped to oblivion, you maybe want to appropriately size now if you do think that the market's going to resume, or you just think we're in a complacency bounce. You can do all that right there on Blockfolio. Track your coins and play some trades. Go check them out. It's available in the App Store. Tell them that we sent you. Going over to weeklyopen.com. Let's kick this thing off, Don. We got, I don't know if the picture's gotten any better, but I hope your weekend was well, man. What's going on?
Yeah, my weekend was actually pretty fun. Like trading, I love trading these crashes. This kind of stuff is my jam. And
I've been here for 15 minutes.
Well, waiting for.
I thought
we got Josh in.
It was just gonna open. I didn't think. Sorry, were you recording?
We are live right now.
Yeah.
No? All right.
Live.
Sorry. Go on. Go on.
No, but I love these crashes. Like trading them is always nice, always fun. People get liquidated, and you get incredible opportunities. But yeah, I think like even though we've crashed and even though we've liquidated, people, it still looks incredibly rough. And I don't really see a good reason to be bullish just yet, just based on like how we close the weekly, how the daily looks. Like for example, in here, right? If this market is truly bullish, and there's actually like buying pressure come in, this weekly closes above the box or like somewhere in that vicinity anyway. We step way into it. And now we have like this resistance to deal with, right? So high time frame wise, I mean, not looking too pretty. And then the low time frames, and we just had a daily bounce yesterday. And I mean, that made sense to me, but anything else, like anything further than that, even more so taking it into resistance, because you have like a bunch of resistance in this area. Like, I don't really see a good reason to be like overly bullish. If you want to be bullish, I mean, yesterday or the day before, those were the times to be bullish, in my opinion.
I was hoping we were going to get something more bullish, but that's just how it is right now. Josh, what's going on, man? How was your weekend?
Not much. Good. We booted, we rallied, we booted again, we dry heaved, and now we're back to here. If I said this yesterday in a video, but the bottom is 0 so long as China has any coins to sell or they want to sell. So if China's done selling, we might be okay. And it looks like we're headed to a mean reversion back to the 200-day moving average, which is essentially 41, 42 for BTC. Yeah, it's tough times out there. Just all I gotta say is be defensive. And I don't like acting quickly. I think Luke talks about this on Twitter every once in a while, but the market is trying to force you to act quickly here. And for me, that's not my best trading environment, is like making quick decisions. I'm very much a set it and forget it type of guy. So like Don was saying, some people like trading this. I don't not like it, but I just don't like the 50% intraday swings. Like that makes me uneasy, to go down to round trip like all of that. We were fine before the day before yesterday. Like things were looking okay as far as retracement, 50 to 60% on BTC. But man, the day after that, it's like, really, people are still selling here? Like, what are you selling? They were selling into nothing on a Sunday. So I don't know, man. They clearly had a reason, right?
What is the reason? Like, I guess what I'm super curious about, when we get news like we did this morning with Ray Dalio buying, obviously we know what Bitcoin does on negative news now. We went through like a period of 6 months where we only got positive news cycle, up and up and up. Now we're in this negative news cycle, and clearly that's leading to selling. I'm really curious if we can get a week or two of positive news that comes out, if it reacts positively, or if it just shrugs it off. Like that's just kind of another warning sign where it's like, yeah, the complacency bounce is probably more likely. I don't know. I think how we react to news, if the news flow changes, is going to be something to watch. But I mean, the technical picture is it doesn't change that, right? Like 40K is going to suck to get through. It's hard to have much conviction in this at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's just whenever you have like these negative news cycles, right? And everyone's like, okay, this is super bearish because, and then like you list up like reasons why the market crashed. But I think like the market was positioned for like downside regardless. And then we just like got the double punch, basically, like the 1-2, where it's like we had the market set up in a way where it was pretty damn likely that we're getting like a retracement. And then we got like negative news on top. But I totally agree with you. Like if the bullish news that we get lead to nothing, I think there's further pain ahead. Like for me, the question is more of, are we gonna like dump and then get a relief bounce, or are we gonna get a relief bounce and then dump? Like that's where my head's at. Anything besides those two options, I'd be very surprised about.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely going to be a fight at anything above 46 for sure. And the trend metrics, for the most part, the high time frame trend metrics haven't even caught up yet. Like we haven't even death crossed yet on anything. So we're headed for that on BTC and ETH rather quickly. Yeah, it's just going to take time. It's going to take 30, 60, 90 days. It might take all of Q3 to figure out what the hell's going on at this point. This looks great like in the day, but I'm not convinced that we're just going to like magically pull back up to 50 plus. If we do, great, but I don't think that's like the duck is saying. I don't think that's what's going to happen.
It's wild too about Bitcoin being in this spot is we've never had, and I know it's so young that you can't really base it off of like how previous cycles have played out, but I think it's still helpful to look at. You've never had Bitcoin go on a parabolic run, decline 50%, then we range, then we go higher. And so like, I'd love to see Bitcoin range here. I'd love to see it consolidate and maybe that gives us some fuel where we can attack 50K again. But there's no, like 2017, it's not like we would go up, dump 50% and then range. Like it just went up. And then after we stopped going up, the bull market was over. Like we've just never really had a period where parabolic, then range, then higher. So maybe Bitcoin is at a new part of its life cycle where that is possible, but it's tough, man. Unless this is a V bottom and we push for new highs, it's like, I don't know. You have to start really kind of stretching what's possible.
Yeah, because we've lost all high time frame supports basically, and this is not like 2017, and we didn't dump 55% ever till the end, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how we went from like this, the market is too mature, it's never gonna pull back 40% again, to like, okay, now it's down 55%, but I mean that's just a typical kind of thing that we get in bull markets. Like that narrative shift is so weird to me, right? Because I mean it's Bitcoin at the end of the day, right? And anyone that didn't expect like anything to like up towards like 40%, I think is just risking way too much. I mean, I've gone through this before where you're like in a position, you're like, I can't see this ever go to this and this price again. But the only reason why you're saying that is because that would put you underwater, right? And I mean, I feel like I've seen a bunch of that in crypto in the last few days to even weeks, where it's like, there's no way this and this and this can happen. But the only reason why people say it is because, I mean, they don't want it to happen. And I mean, this just like a 55% retrace. I mean, there's a good chance that puts the run basically, that's the end of the run, right? And if it's not, we're gonna notice, because I don't think like if this is bearish, we should get anywhere close to like back into that range, like into that like 55 to 60K range, because then I think we'd truly be double bubble, super cycle, whatever, confirmed at that point. Yeah. So I mean, even if you're like super bullish and you got like a pretty lucky or like good escape up in the range, like up above, I think that's not a bad kind of re-entry point, right? Just saying, okay, I made a bunch of Bitcoin by selling up high, and I'm more than happy to give that back to do it again, right? To just buy back up here in the 55, 60K range. Anything below there, I mean, you have like, that might have looked like a joke when I tweeted about this, but you legitimately have like this head and shoulders set up here, right? And that is terrifying, because that target's like 18K. Yeah. And I mean, I honestly could see us go there. And I mean, that's not like, I don't want to like scare people out of their positions or whatever, because if you're in this and you're kind of trading your position and you're bullish long term, that doesn't mean that anything's over, really. Because people always kind of assume, okay, if this goes to 18K, Bitcoin's done for, and I don't subscribe to that. I think like this can dump 80% and still go into the next bubble and still go higher and still make new all-time highs.
Yeah, that's almost like, I don't know if I'm coping by thinking that, but I just don't, like Bitcoin back in end of 2019 or even kind of early 2020 when we dumped. Previously, when Bitcoin would get in these bear markets, it was always like, man, was that the last time we see a new all-time high? I just don't even think that's, like, I'm just hyper bullish long term. Like, even if we do, if that head and shoulders plays out or this was the top for 2021, it's like I'm just not that worried about Bitcoin being able to rise up to 50, 60, 100K again. Like, I think it'll happen. I'm curious, what do you guys think? Is it possible that we have another 2 or 3 year bear market? Obviously, it's possible. But do you ascribe like a high probability to that or something lower? I think like the chance of an actual 2 to 3 year bear market kicking in right now is much lower, like lower than 20%, I would say. I just don't think that, like, there's going to be too much interest if it drops is kind of how I view it. But maybe that's just me coping. I'm curious what you guys think about that.
Well, I think
sorry, go ahead, Josh.
Well, I was just gonna say the biggest thing that worries me right now is that SafeMoon, Doge, all these like scammy bullshit stuff is still way up and could drop 80%. You know, so if you're despondent on 37K BTC, wait until all that stuff dumps and BTC goes along with it. You know, that's my concern up here. You know, so anybody who's been here a while is like still celebrating 30K plus, obviously.
Sure.
I'm fine with it, you know.
Oh, I am too.
So if you're a 2020 cycle person, you know, and you're still buying here, just know that be prepared. If this is a 2 to 3 year bear market, just be prepared to hold it all the way down. You know, you have to, at this point, if you're buying the dips, you have to say to yourself, I know these might be terrible entries in the near term if this goes against me, and you just have to have the conviction that you think it's going to go higher. You know, I think like I wouldn't be like super comfortable buying this until it's like sub 20, because anything above that at this point, you know, we're 50% moves intraday. Like we could go anywhere. You know, I can fly twice as high. This is like the Reading Rainbow, right? It's
yeah.
We've never seen anything like this. Okay, we've never seen anything. This is the biggest down candle on the monthly ever.
Yeah.
This is the worst Q2 ever in a quarter that has historically been excellent for trend and everything. So it's breaking everything, you know. So don't be surprised, is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, the funny thing is, and this is something that Cred always says, is that we're doing really poorly basically ever since like actual inflation data has come out that kind of supports the thesis that a lot of crypto people have been having.
Yeah.
Which just makes this entire narrative kind of a really bad one, right? Like in the time where it was needed most, it's just not doing what it was supposed to be doing. Ignoring the fact that it's up a shitload on that narrative alone, right? So it's like we just kind of pumped on the promise that, okay, yeah, we're going to get like inflation is going to get really bad. And then when we actually like get some, or at least some indication of it, like we've already pumped so high that it actually like it almost becomes like the sell the news event. But yeah, what I want to say is like people are always quick to say, okay, this has not happened before, so it cannot happen, right? That's not how to think about markets, right? And I mean, we've seen this with this candle, right? I mean, this is groundbreaking stuff in a bad way, but I mean, I think that's just like with trading crypto, no one really has any idea how much this should be worth. If you think it's doing like it's good for the world and it's like a good investment, then buy it. If you don't, like don't. But it's really hard to judge where this should be going, right, on the fundamental kind of side of things. So when people start panicking and start selling, you just get this vicious cycle, right, of people selling and then other people thinking, oh, I have no idea how to kind of judge how much this should be worth. So I mean, maybe I overpaid, maybe whatever. So I think like in general, once you start like the selling, basically, once you kind of break that, okay, this market has matured and this is what we've been having mentality, all bets are off, right? And I mean, no one really knows where this is going to go. I'm just saying like, I could see this go lower. I could see it bounce. So yeah. And in general, I could see this go back into 2-year bear market and then go back up to all-time highs. Like, I don't think anything has really changed in the last year. Like we're still in the same market. We have like a few new participants that haven't really lived through a crypto bear market, right? I mean, when you're looking at Saylor, for example, like he has not lived through a bear market really. Like, I mean, he might have looked at Bitcoin and been like, okay, this is in a bear market now, haha, back when he thought that Bitcoin was shit, right? And then when he wants to buy it, he might have had FOMO back in March, right? But he's not been living through a bear market before. So who knows what he's going to do? Who knows what Tesla's going to do? Like all of these like new variables that are really hard to judge just make it really, really hard to say, okay, I think it's just going to behave like the last time, or saying the opposite, right? It's just like, it's a guessing game at this point, and I'm just going to be looking for strength or looking for weakness. And if I see weakness, I'm going to sell, and if I see strength, I'm going to buy.
All right,
and
so
throw everything out the window.
So with that scenario, like let's say, regardless of whether or not a 2 or 3 year bear market happens, but let's say Bitcoin just kind of continues. If we get a complacency bounce, or we do start seeing strength, or we just kind of chop around here, going back to like 2018, when Bitcoin topped, the next 3 to 4 months was the best period that altcoins maybe had ever had. Like you could buy back when people were still doing ICOs. I mean, every single coin was 10xing. Like things that were just on IDEX back then was like the Uniswap. I'm curious, like if alts kind of react the same way this go around. Like let's say Bitcoin even just chills here. It doesn't have to, continue down to 18K or 20K next week. But do the altcoin to Bitcoin ratios respond the same way? I'm really curious about that because kind of alt perps have dominated recently. Like cash plays such a bigger role than it used to. So like the money flow isn't as clear. When Bitcoin stops, then money can flow into alts. Because it's also a weird spot where like DeFi coins have already ran, it feels like, for 6 months straight. It just didn't happen in the previous bull cycle. They were kind of flat. Then after Bitcoin topped, those things could run. What do you guys think happens? Let's say Bitcoin just chills here for a month or two. Do we see all Bitcoin ratios go crazy?
I just don't know who's left to buy. If retail got burned on this 60%, 70% drawdown, whatever it was for altcoins, what do they have left to buy with?
Yeah.
The stimmies are done. So
well, maybe not. The stimmies could.
Maybe not. If
we're
stimmies
always
come
due
back,
for another stimmy, bro.
If stimmies come back, then we are mega mooning. The crazy part is people are talking about it in chat. We talked about it a little bit. We're not responding to the inflation narrative like at all. DXY is dumpster diving, and we're not responding at all. It is not favorable to risk on position taking based on price action. Maybe it's just a like punctuated equilibrium where China's just selling off so hard that buy demand can't keep up. But who's gonna buy alts? Who among us is gonna buy the alts? Where's the money coming from? There's just so many alts. There's so many scams.
That is actually true. I think like that's the biggest detriment to altcoins, or has been, like, because everyone, like, I've seen traders open or make new altcoins like this cycle, right? Like people we know on Twitter.
That's new. That's new this cycle.
Yeah, we have like a bunch of people just getting in because they know, okay, yeah, I can do whatever the fuck I want to. People are gonna buy it when the market is bullish, and then you have so many altcoins that it's like, even if we get an altcoin swing, like you can't pump them all, right? And this is something that a lot of people have been struggling with, where it's like, yeah, we had like DeFi pump, and we had like a few select altcoins pump like big time, like Dogecoin, for example, but we haven't had like the big market-wide alt season that we've had in the past. And then people are like, okay, we haven't had alt season yet because my coin hasn't gone up yet. But I think like we have so many coins now that's like, there's a good chance like if you buy a coin and it just doesn't pump, and then the entire like bullish upswing goes by you, I think that's very, very possible just based on the fact how many coins we have now. But I think they would still be doing decently well. If Bitcoin ranges here, I think altcoins would be doing decently well because people would get bored again. Like we're in such a weird market dynamic where, because of COVID and because of how everything's been playing out in the last year, people just have nothing to do, right? And the only thing that they have to do, or that they feel like they have to do, is just kind of gamble, because everyone's getting rich. Everyone is like doing that trade and this trade. And I think that's not gonna necessarily stop as soon as the market conditions allow it to. And if we go sideways here, I wouldn't be surprised to see some upswings in some altcoins. Maybe even again in DeFi, because I mean that seems like the best place to go when we actually have like bullish price action on any altcoins.
Yeah, it's a selective repricing. It's like DeFi, which actually makes sense. Then you have meme coins, which make absolutely no sense. So it's like it's just a perfect illustration of that bell curve. It's like DeFi coins should actually probably be going up. The meme coins definitely shouldn't. And then the stuff where it's like kind of in the middle that like people know about, but it's not DeFi and it's not a meme. I don't know how that's going to do.
Yeah, like Zcash.
I think Zcash is actually a meme now. I would put it in the meme.
Is it?
Yeah, it's actually a meme. It's hilarious. Like,
Yeah.
I think it actually got successfully put in the meme category just based on the fact how like crypto Twitter and everyone around it's been acting towards it. But one thing I want to say about the DeFi stuff, even though I like a lot of what I'm seeing, is like DeFi stuff, at least on the biggest kind of like on the big scale, is mostly just gambling in crypto, right? It's supporting the gambling system or like
Sure.
the trading system as a whole. So if you see like the entire market, because that's something that I saw a lot of people kind of talk about, the entire market swung, it like went down like 50%, and then DeFi went down with it, right? And people were like, okay, why are these coins going down? Because they're productive assets, whatever. But I mean, like, obviously everything is gonna go down when Bitcoin is going down. That's just natural. But even on like a fundamental kind of basis, when you have like less volume in the crypto markets, and let's say we would be heading like in an altcoin or in general crypto bear market, like we would have less trading volume in general. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw like even during those times like less outperformance of DeFi than like we used to. But in general, long term, I still think like that's probably like, at least concerning altcoins, that's the place to look.
I mean, Sushi and Maker and basically everything dumped 70%. That is insane for a weekly move. And everything was basically at all-time high like the day before, you know. I just don't, people are gonna get scared by that for sure. And like institutional buying with like the high cap stuff, I don't know if they're gonna want to stomach that, you know, because that's not a good look to just collapse like that. Maybe you can justify it and say it was all China. The run up was all China. You know, anything that's China related, I think is gonna have trouble. Maybe Neo and OMG, maybe those are in trouble. I don't know, but as long as we can break free from that, because it's still uncertainty about what the hell's going on there.
Yeah.
We don't know for sure.
Yeah, it's all a little bit like everyone has like an opinion, but no one really knows.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say about DeFi that I'm incredibly impressed by is that it worked actually pretty damn well during the crash. And I think that's the most bullish thing to come out of this crash, is that like all these protocols, like we didn't see like something completely break, even though we had like a record-breaking day basically.
Well, DeFi worked great. It was ETH that shit the bed because gas went to like 2,000 plus when everything was liquidating, right?
Yeah, that's an ETH problem, I would say. But I mean, like the fact that it worked still is incredible to me, and I think that's pretty damn like, because I was worried that the first meltdown we were gonna have, that would happen. Like some of the DeFi protocols just implode. But to my knowledge and to what I've seen, it's just not happened. I mean, ETH and ETH kind of struggled, but that's nothing new, right? That's been happening pretty much in any kind of move down recently.
Yeah, the DAI USD peg is ultra stable. Tether is still above $1 for anybody who's on the Tether FUD train. Just look at what the market's telling you. Market doesn't care. Yeah, the stuff worked great. They're still printing stablecoins like mad. They're printing billions of Tether and billions of USDC. So I don't think people are exiting. They're just nervous and in stablecoins at this point.
I kind of wonder, like, let's say Bitcoin actually does react positively. It's a delayed reaction to this inflation stuff. And China was just kind of, the China selling was just dominating what could have been a nice reaction. Like, I'm curious, like ETH, BTC, let's say, I wish it didn't dump as fast as it did, because it being able to pull back to 0.055 or that 0.06 level, like that's what I wanted to see. I didn't want to see it when the market crashes like 60%. That doesn't make me too happy, but like we were due for a pullback. I don't know. Like I'm in such a middle ground of like, if Bitcoin actually starts gaining some steam here, reacts positive to some positive news flow, if we can get it, I do wonder, man, if the crowd can flip bullish again on ETH. Like what if ETH hits 0.08 by early next month? Are we back to full on bull, full on risk on, or is the market just too spooked for that? Like I don't know.
To me, ETH BTC still looks okay.
Still looks good.
It's like the ETH USD pair just looks absolutely tragic.
That's what I mean. It happened too fast for me to be constructive on it, but it's like the ETH BTC is trading perfectly. It's what you want to see.
Yeah. I mean, this was the pullback we were talking about. Yeah. I still remember us saying, okay, this is a nice level to buy. Wicked in like perfectly to it and bounced. In general, like this is fine. This is completely fine by me. Like if you're like betting on ETH BTC outperformance, I mean, still fine to be in that position. I think like what I have trouble with is this chart where it's like whenever you get these, and I mean, if you turn off log charts, it's even more.
Oh gosh,
it's even more.
Don't even show me
obvious. That. I mean, you had like a nuke into support, right? And that's fine. But like after a nuke like this, what I would expect is kind of like it to creep up a little bit, and then that be the complacency bounce before it just heads lower. And I have no idea where that lower would be. And like I said, like ETH BTC looks kind of fine-ish. So, I mean, maybe that's coming, like that move down is coming from Bitcoin. I have no idea. But like, I doubted that we're just going to see like a green candle here that goes all the way back up and then we resume the bull market. Like there's almost no way in my mind, but I mean, it's crypto, could happen, right? I'm not saying there's no chance. It's just like, I don't expect it. If anything, like you go sideways here, start creeping up slowly and then squeeze when everyone is thinking, okay, like you have a complacency kind of shoulder here. But I still think like the area between like 3K and 4K is where you absolutely do not want to be exposed, because anything above, and then who knows where this goes, right? But like that area is super, super risky in my eyes.
Need to let the market build some confidence again. Is what we need.
Yeah, I just think everybody needs to be patient. You know, we just had an insane run for 6 months plus, whatever it was. So, you know, let the market swirl around. Don't be upset about it. Take your profits if you need to. Buy some dips. Be patient. You know, do what you think is appropriate for you. It's all highly personal. If you need the money, just pull it out. Like no one's gonna
berate you on
say
Twitter. Maybe they
right,
will actually.
Right. You know,
it doesn't matter.
Just ignore Twitter.
Yeah.
Ignore, you know, I saw a couple of people actually saying they bought like multi-million-dollar ETHUSD positions. And I'm happy for them.
Respect.
But what that creates for other people is like this FOMO of I should have bought the dip. Why didn't I buy the dip? What do they know that I don't know, you know? And it, probably what it comes down to for them is just risk. Either they like gambling or they are able to take on that risk. So I'm concerned for people watching that thinking I should follow this trade because if it goes against you, then what? You know, like the dip that keeps on dipping. I don't want to sound ultra bearish, but it's just hard to be bullish at this point. If unless we're above 46 today or tomorrow or a week from today, like it's hard for me to be bullish.
46 sounds pretty nice if we can get there by the end of the month.
I'm curious. Alts,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say alts are still like bouncing actively today. DeFi perp is back into the previous dump range. And all the alts are bouncing. Maker's doing pretty well actually. Maker USD.
I mean, who's left to sell? Like who's selling?
Well, that was what I was feeling yesterday. It was like, who the hell is selling this? Like, well, who has anything left to sell at this point? I don't know. Doge is still 33 cents. Like, Doge is still 33 cents, people. What is Doge BTC? Is it
something ridiculous? Something, yeah.
It's still very
880.
Very
I mean,
high.
the thing is, right? I mean, you're looking at this, and I mean, I hate to say it, right? But I mean, you had like, do you guys remember XRP and how it pumped and what it did after? I mean, you obviously do.
Which XRP pump? The
1780, yeah. Because what we had on XRP was it went like this, and it went sideways, and then pumped again, went sideways, and then pumped the last time, and then it dumped. And I mean, I can show this on the chart.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see that.
So what you're looking at back then
Look at that chart.
is, so I still remember this like so vividly, right? But you have this like free kind of pump thing going where you have like one pump here and then one pump here and then the last pump here with like a little bit added on top. And what happened after was this incredibly long bleed out, right? And if you're trading Dogecoin and you're not expecting this, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, right? I mean, unless Elon just completely, and this is like the one variable and the one reason why like I wouldn't just short this is because Elon's just like so out of left field, like he can say whatever. And the guy's basically all in Dogecoin at this point, like reputational wise, because if it tanks, he's gonna look like a complete moron. So he's gonna try to hold it up. It's just a question of can he, because this thing is so massive and there's new Doge entering the market the entire time, right? And it's never gonna stop. So I mean, at some point you'd expect people to kind of take profit, and then who's left to kind of buy from you, right? Push it higher.
I expect many people to watch that ride all the way down. There's that article the other day. I'm a Dogecoin millionaire and I'm not selling.
Yeah, I saw that guy.
He's may not be a Dogecoin millionaire for much longer. But the Tesla stock people are the same. I expect them to ride that stock all the way down. You know, and that's fine if you believe in Tesla and Elon and whatever. And markets need people like that to keep the price where it's at. Obviously, the hodl mentality is what does that. But again, if that's okay for you, you know, if this is your 2014, 2015 BTC cycle where you're just slow bleeding, 2018 cycle we're slow bleeding, if you're okay with sitting through that, then do it. But if you're not, don't be afraid to sell. There's this like fiat fear in crypto that I just don't understand. At the very least, you can buy lower, you know?
Doge investors are a unique breed. I'm curious then, what if you guys have any trades that you're excited about this week? Besides, I imagine the message is mostly going to be waiting, but if there's anything at all that's actually exciting you, I have one, but I want to see what you guys have.
Well, the other part...
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Josh.
The other part about the 50% intraday moves is an Elon tweet can move us 5 to 7% for no reason, right?
Yeah.
Like if some bots decide it's a positive tweet, they just buy, you know. So keep that in mind too. I don't really have anything. We're above the 4-hour low time frame MAs, like the 18 or the 20, whatever it is. Finally, for the first time since the dump, basically, on BTC. So we're making some headway here. But what we want to see is just a bottom, a firm bottom, either a V or a U or an ascending triangle or an inverted head and shoulders, a div. We're getting a daily bull div on RSI. It's subtle, but it's definitely there. So that needs to hold. RSI hit 23, which is the lowest since March 2020. Yeah, I don't really have many setups to watch, but just keep in mind to just know what to look for, I guess, if you are trading this.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of like if I had to take a trade, and I'm glad I don't, I would short 38K, target 32. That kind of move makes a lot of sense to me. Now I'm not going to take it. And I, in general, like in weekly support, I just generally tend to just try not to. But that's like the most appealing trade to me. And given that is the case, I mean, I don't think I would want to be buying anything else, just based on the fact that I'm like actively thinking that Bitcoin is probably going to go back down again, at least like to 32-ish. And then like I could see us with to 32 and then go to 43 or something. I'd just in general be surprised if we didn't go back down there again. But let's say we range here for a while, right? Like next week or the week after. I think there's a good chance that some of the altcoins are going to outperform. I'm going to be looking at DeFi. It's just like right now we're seeing a lot of just relief bounces, I would say. Like whenever you see these altcoin moves, right, what happens? Like you get a massive nuke, right? You get a lot of selling, and those wipe the order books completely clean. And then at some point, it's obvious like people get in to kind of just arbitrage some way to kind of mean revert this thing. And I think that's what we're seeing on the altcoins. Doesn't really mean like when you see like green candles on these that they've bottomed yet. It just means that like we have like Bitcoin bounce a little, so people try to capture a little bit of the Bitcoin pair kind of mean reversion. Sure. But for me, like most of this stuff, funnily enough, ADA is one of them that actually just didn't break anything. But like most of this stuff just broke through the bullish setups. Like Litecoin did, Bitcoin Cash still had support. But like EOS, same kind of deal, really shouldn't have broken back below the support in here. Like all of these altcoins, I don't want to be touching. I think there's probably some money to be made in the mean revert. It's just not worth it for me because like you get in and you're wrong, it starts getting illiquid real fast again. And then that's not worth trading for me because then you have to think, okay, am I going to be able to get out? Is this actually still a fine trade to take with like that in mind and all that kind of stuff? So I'm just looking at Bitcoin, see how that goes. If ETH crashes another time, like I'm going to be looking at like 1.4K for like a deep knife catch. If like, because what we've been seeing, right, it's a lot of kind of, I mean, I hate to use the word, but it's kind of like a lot of funds have been martingaling, right? They've just been like, it's broken down, they didn't expect it, and then just kept on buying all the way down. And whenever I see that, I'm expecting like, at least like, I'm not necessarily expecting it, but I could see like one of them blow out. And whenever funds start blowing out, you get like deep wicks. And that's what I'm kind of positioning myself for. If I get it, nice. If I don't, I mean, no harm done, right? Like I want to be chilling in this environment anyway. So either deep wicks somewhere or just doing nothing is like what I want to be doing this week. And then next week's probably going to be entirely different.
Yep.
Yeah, speaking of funds, Alameda bought the dip twice over the past couple days, and 3AC said that they're holding a lot of ETH. I think they're the ETHUSD. I think they're the ETHUSD margin longs that opened. So you know, if that goes against them, what's their stop loss for that? What's their unwinding process going to be? Not saying it will, but you know, if they're wrong, that's going to affect things for sure.
Yeah, it makes sense to be positioned. So like what I take a huge issue with in general in the crypto markets is this all-in mentality, right? Because if you're all in something, you have literally no way to take any advantage of any positive or negative situation that arises, right? Let's say you're all in Bitcoin at like 35K or something, right? That might be a nice price, but what if, and then you can put in a lot of things, right? What if Elon sells, like Tesla freaks out and they're just like, okay, we're going to sell. I mean, you know that we're going to break 30K. And then you're not there to be able to kind of take advantage of that because that would be a pretty good dip to buy. And then like there's a lot of situations like that can happen. And I mean, a lot of new people in the market have never experienced when the market just completely goes and out of whack and you get like 50, 60, 70 pullbacks. And I think if you're all in, there's never going to be a way for you to take advantage of that. And those days, like the days where it goes down like 50%, those are the days that you're going to make the most money if you're actually like patient enough and you have money on the side to take advantage of them. But like with anything else, like we have this kind of crypto cult. And I mean, it's a pretty nice thing to have, I think, because people are very, very enthusiastic about crypto. But like the logical kind of like mathematical thinking just kind of gets thrown out the window where people are just like, okay, I don't really like, I want to just have as much as possible from this and not kind of taking into account that, yeah, maybe at some point we get like a massive wick to the downside or the same thing to the upside, right? Sometimes you get like weird stuff happening where like a big whale gets squeezed or whatever. And you get like stupid wicks to the upside. It's the same thing where if you don't have anything on the side to take advantage of that, you're doing yourself a disservice, in my opinion, as a trader anyway.
Yep. Make complete sense. Trading wise, I don't really have anything. Like, I'm just not excited to trade Bitcoin. Not excited to trade ETH here. I think, as I think about scenarios, if Bitcoin ranges, if Bitcoin gives a complacency bounce, or even if Bitcoin nukes a little bit lower, I think those alt Bitcoin ratios are going to be attractive. Specifically with DeFi, I guess there's just a couple DeFi coins that I wanted to build a position in but didn't get to. And so when they're down 50, 60%, yeah, things like sushi, I'm probably not going to buy sushi. I'm looking at Ruin, though, which is still down 50%. Things like Perp, like some DeFi sectors that I just don't think have grown to what they could be. Like, I'm also prepared, as you said, like the biggest risk here, if you're taking kind of a medium to longer term investment to a DeFi play, is, yeah, if things do get worse, it becomes illiquid very fast. And like I learned that lesson. It became so real in 2018. Like, you build a big altcoin position because you think that thing's going to keep doing well. When prices are down, it's not even that prices go down that you get screwed. It's that no one is trading that coin anymore. And like, getting out of it is horrible. I mean, it's not even like, will this thing go back up and break even? So that's definitely a risk. But as I look at things like Rune and Perp and some of these, even if I go through like all the scenarios, sure, there's a chance we go through a 1 or 2 year bear cycle, but I don't know, man. Some of like the DeFi blue chips that are down 50 to 60%, I know they're still up 1,000,000% in the past 12 months, but when I look at that, it's like there's a couple of them I've kind of wanted to add, so that's really all I'm looking at. The chart is going to be horrible. It's not going to look pretty. Short term, I'm probably going to be underwater, but things like Rune and Perp and just some things that I wanted that I didn't get to buy earlier, it's really the only thing I'm even watching. From a
Yeah, I mean, if you're buying lower caps, be prepared to like hold that to zero. Not
Exactly,
Rune specifically, but just
like
in
anything,
general.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like that's a real thing. And I don't think that, I think you almost have to go through a cycle of that to realize that. Like in your head, you're like, no, I'll always be able to sell. You know, it's just 10K or it's just 50K or whatever it is for you in your portfolio. But I don't. It's one of those where unless you live through it and you're like, holy shit, man, like this thing, not only my price might never recover, but like there's just nothing happening here. Like that's a big difference from where we are currently. Yeah, we had a big drop, but these things are still trading. There's a lot of volume. It could get worse. So you have to prepare for that, but I don't know, man. I'm looking at some of these DeFi things. I don't think DeFi's done. I think it will be much, much, much bigger in the next, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. I think that's kind of the only attractive thing I'm looking at right now.
I think for the alt season stuff in the near term, once Robinhood does their IPO or direct listing, whatever they're doing, after that, when they finally list more stuff, if they are going to, which I assume they will be, whatever the market reaction to that is, I think will dictate what's really going on in the retail mindset. If the non-retail people see those listings as bullish and they buy and retail buys it, maybe we have another alt season. Maybe that's risk on type stuff. But again, like who's buying here? Who's got money to buy anything?
Ray Dalio, that's who's our buyer. That's our incremental buyer.
Yep, that's actually true. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, it's like you own Bitcoin, great. Who doesn't, right? Like it's like that meme from Jurassic Park. Dotson, we got Dotson here. Like, who cares, right? Nobody cares. Everybody should own Bitcoin at this point. So good for Ray Dalio. Yeah, I hope it's BTC and not GBTC in his case or everyone's case. But yeah.
We shall see. Hopefully he bets more. I want to bet more. Everyone said he's like, I own some Bitcoin. That guy needs to own more Bitcoin.
Yeah, what is some for him? Like 500K? Like it's like pocket change to that guy.
That guy needs sailor-sized bids before he starts.
No, we don't. But like that's one of the things that I absolutely hate. Actually, is like, I mean, we always had this risk of like Satoshi coming back and selling, right? I mean, it's very, very minor. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but we always had that, right? I mean, everyone has kind of made their peace with that's a possibility, right? Sure. That wallet gets recovered or whatever, we're all fucked, right? Very, very unlikely. I don't even give it a % chance. But now we have the same thing with Sailor, right? Sailor goes and loses his mind and starts selling, we're fucked. And I don't want more of that. Like, I'm done with like having 2 of those. I'm more than happy. Like, fine, whatever. But it's like the more people we get like that, the worse it is, because it's like, where do we go? Like, if any of those kind of just starts panicking, right?
It's not even Saylor. It's like his board at MicroStrategy. Like,
yeah, but I mean, he has most of the voting power, so he's probably gonna be fine. And like, there was this one thread yesterday or the day before that talked about like him maybe being forced to sell. I had it run through like a traditional fund, a friend of mine, and he said it's very, very unlikely. Like, he doesn't think that that's going to be an issue in this year or next year. Like, all of these debts that he's taken, they're not going to be due for a long time. So we're fine on that front. It's just if he starts freaking out, like, for example, if we get flippening, right? If we start seeing ETH above Bitcoin, like, what the fuck does Saylor do? And I mean, there's a low. Yeah, there's a low chance that he does anything, right? He's probably gonna do like just what he's ever done, like always done, just gonna shield Bitcoin, right? But like, the fact that we have that risk of like 1% or whatever of him just freaking out makes it really hard to or makes it harder to trade. It's not really hard because he's such a fanatic, but more of that, no thanks. Like, a few like smaller buyers or whatever, that's much more to my liking than someone going all in. Because if crypto has taught us anything, like, it's that these wipes wipe out even like the best people at what they do. Like, we've all gone through it, and if you've not experienced it, it's fucking brutal.
That's facts. Well, everyone watching, everyone listening, I do hope that Ray Dalio buys, even though I don't want concentration of coins like that. You have a good point. It's a big risk, but who knows, man? I think we have to just kind of let this thing settle, let the dust settle. We'll see if the news flow can turn, if Bitcoin reacts differently to the news flow, but nothing wrong with being patient. I do want to say, everyone that tuned in, appreciate you guys tuning in. We stream this every single Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. It's the weekly open. Sometimes we're bullish, sometimes we're bearish, and sometimes the charts just look like this. So what can we do? But we do appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit the subscribe button if you do want to catch up on these. The famous LedgerStatus returns next week as well. He's been on vacation. But we'll be back to the full squad next week. And I also want to remind you, before we wrap this thing up, to go check out Blockfolio. They sponsor this. They let you track all your coins. All those bags you're holding, you can see what they're doing on Blockfolio. You can trade out of them if you don't like them anymore. And if you find a new bag, we talk about something on the show that you like, we won't shill it to you. No more comments on that, because I've seen some nasty things on Twitter. But what I'm trying to say is Blockfolio has all your coin needs. You can trade in, you can watch your portfolio, and they sponsor the show, and we appreciate that. So go download Blockfolio. Appreciate all you guys watching. Don and Josh, I will see you guys next week.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.